The goal of this series is to have a conversation with your favorite traders as well as DeFi analysts. Join me in learning about their journey, talk about trading, and everything crypto related. So today I have a good friend with me, Hoeem, and you might know him as Crypto Hoeem on Twitter. If you're on CT, you already know who this man is. He's a powerhouse when it comes to putting out information and knowledge when it comes to crypto. He also has a phenomenal newsletter on Substack by the name of 7C Newsletter with over 12,000 subscribers. Hoeem, thank you for taking this time to have this conversation with me, and let's get right into it. How did you get into crypto?
Yeah, hello. How are you doing? Okay. Thanks for the lovely introduction, by the way. It's very kind.
Absolutely.
How did I get into crypto? So originally, back in 2017, I bought a tiny bit of Bitcoin to make an online purchase of something, and I was like, "What's going on? Why is Bitcoin like $300?" I was like, "I need to get rid of this straight away. Like, how the hell can this be worth $300?"
Right.
So bought whatever I was buying on the internet, and yeah, so be it. Left a little bit of dust, Bitcoin dust, like I think it was 12p at the time, into that wallet, and then watched it go absolutely bananas in the back end of 2017. I was like, okay, what's going on there? So it kind of piqued my interest, but I didn't really get into the space properly until 2021, where I was trading sort of tech stocks and growth stocks, and I thought what has more upside potential, it's crypto, and I started learning from there, and then really fell in love with everything about cryptocurrency, not just the upside, just the community, the technology that's involved, the application, the potential it has. Kind of just snowballed, and now I sort of on and in this space 24/7, writing content or learning something, and there's so much to do and learn. It's never ending, so it's good fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Your story of getting into crypto is similar to mine as well, and a lot of others in terms of coming in and not really knowing much, not having the knowledge of the space. So one thing I like to ask is, when once getting into crypto, where did you start learning? Like, where did you start that process of learning, and what were the hurdles that you faced initially when getting into it?
Oh gosh, yeah, there's so much stodgy information out there. So at the beginning, you're kind of getting the information from the very worst places, where you're just searching little videos on YouTube, or you're searching for something on the internet, and you're getting fed like the very worst things by the algorithm. So the sort of content and education you're receiving at the beginning, if you don't know any better, is really below any sort of reasonable standard, and can actually just lead you completely astray if you're new into the space. So yeah, after a little bit of time, you can sort of start to understand, what smells a little bit funky, and what someone's actually putting together makes sense, and you can start to back it up yourself by going and doing the research yourself. So yeah, I mean, being able to like aggregate your own information on the internet and using Twitter for that has been one of my main ways of learning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big point that you brought up is understanding what good information even is, and you need to spend that time to even understand if the information you're getting is has any value, right? There's so much information out there, especially now, to be able to filter that information. And that's why there's phenomenal newsletters like yours as well
Yeah,
that filters that information for people.
yeah.
But I think that's a great point that you brought up is, there's so much information, and I think the first step is to even understand where the good information is coming from, and
And I think
curate that
that's a real,
information.
yeah, sorry. I think that's a real skill within itself, is being able to, dissect information and know what's valuable and what's not. Um, yeah, without doubt, that's gonna supercharge your journey if you're able to do that. And I hope that's what my newsletter and a couple of friends of mine, like Lynn's newsletter and Rhett Dearmead's newsletter, that kind of does that. So you got a good source of information aggregators, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
100%, 100%. And so, like, did you face any hurdles like coming into it? You know, with the information that's out there, like, did you fall into that? You know, fall into those pitfalls where you got some information and you kind of followed it and you realize, like, hey, this is not what I was looking for.
Yeah, dude, I was super stupid. Honestly, I was, I was getting into crypto, and I was looking at the price of something, seeing, this is how dumb I am. I was thinking, oh, this coin's worth 0.03. That means it's less valuable than this coin that's worth 0.6. Not looking at the market cap or fully diluted valuation or anything. So that's how stupid I am, man. So come a long way to work out a market cap and a fully diluted valuation. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, it was the same for me, right? Coming into it, like now there's so much great information out there. The set point is higher, right? If you spend that time, you could come in a lot better informed
yeah,
compared compared to. I mean, even myself, like there was I had to go through a lot of hurdles early on.
yeah.
And so let's jump into this a little bit too. Is like, what's your overarching philosophy, like as an investor? And you post a lot of your ideas on Twitter as well. Are you trading currently, or you just hold spot? Do you swing spot? Like, what's your overarching kind of philosophy? Or you just hold. You're just holding through the cycle.
Yeah. I've I've actually I've managed to navigate the bear market quite well, where I've sort of lent on high time frame support or resistances usually, which gives you probably like a handful, well, less than a handful of opportunities each year if you can get something on a monthly, to sort of play a level. And I'm sort of looking at, if my my big my big one is, if there's really bullish news and you're at a high time frame resistance, and you don't push through it, then it's kind of like quite bearish. And the opposite. So if you've got some really bearish news and you're at support and you look like the chart looks awful, you're a bit scared, it's wicking below support even, but it's not actually following through, it's still staying there, and this news is horrendous, then that's a buy. So I sort of stick by that. So the market will give you a few opportunities where you can get free money every single year. So an example would be, when USDC depegged and we hit monthly support and wouldn't go anywhere below it, I just went all in. Another example is during the FTX fallout, we actually went below monthly support, but we weren't going any lower. We were sort of just hovering around a certain point. And the news, like, what can get worse than the second biggest cryptocurrency exchange being an absolute scam? Like, what's worse news than that? So that was a buy as well, but I didn't I didn't buy it straight away. I was still scared. But yeah, that's another example of when you can use that philosophy.
Yeah. So you brought up some great points. So your thesis is more of a high time frame thesis, right? So,
Yeah,
and then the other thing also that you mentioned, and I talk about this a lot as well, is looking for those opportunities that come around a few times. You can even sit on your hands, right?
yeah,
And once those opportunities come around, like that DPEG we had, the USDC DPEG,
yeah,
some people have made a lot of money based on that alone. That's been their best trade all year so far.
yeah,
Just waiting around for that, and then once those opportunities come in, you need to be prepared to have that conviction to deploy.
yeah. And like the other one that was free money was the Coin Telegraph intern fake
Oh,
tweet on this.
absolutely right.
That was and you still had crypto Twitter being like bearish after that news came out, and we retraced it that it was fake. It's crazy. You get some real shifty information out there, and I was screaming to the hills. You've just got an opportunity to look into the future. You're
Right.
just seeing what the spot Bitcoin ETFs would do to the market and how offside people are. Yeah, you're not going to buy. Come on, come on.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, and I remember that whole thing as well. People were so bearish. Oh, this space is a joke, but this is
Yeah,
why we're in the space. We get
yeah,
this volatility. We understand there's so many opportunities to take advantage of,
yeah.
right?
that was
Um,
free money right there. That was
that was
free money.
free money, exactly, 100%. And so, aside from the majors and the alts, like let's get into, I know you're kind of messing around with microcaps as well.
Mm.
Like what's your thesis on that? And, how do you go about approaching that entire space? Because with someone who doesn't have a lot of capital that might be listening to this, what would your tips be and how do you navigate that space?
Oh, it's difficult, honestly. I would like, yeah. I'm kind of. I don't know what advice to give here because if you've got a small portfolio, then Bitcoin and Ethereum is not going to do it for you. You should probably be looking at products that have something substantial behind it that are low market cap, ready for the bull market to sort of bring you some big returns, and not really be trying to trade shitcoins because if you're trading shitcoins and pure micro caps and you've got a really low figure portfolio, you're going to be getting eaten up by gas anyway. So,
Right.
if you've got like a four-figure portfolio, for example, I mean, not financial advice, not nothing, but maybe stay away from Ethereum meme coins because you're going to be
Oh yeah,
paying
gas on
30,
ETH
40.
is insane, man. And also the space has shifted so much with the snipers,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, and coins getting sniped, and
yeah,
then there's a lot of rugs on top of that. So ETH is
yeah,
a very difficult environment now. And
yeah. You
yeah,
can,
I agree with you 100% for someone with a small portfolio, unless you have some, edge in that space, which, me and you both know there's a lot of different ways that people have an edge in that
yeah,
space in terms of wallet hunting and tracking and other things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
What I'm sort of doing at the moment is looking at like who the top. I'm using Chain Edge, which is like a smart money tracking, and it sounds kind of cringe saying smart money, but like Onchain Wizard has taken the top, whoever the top traders are on Dexis. It's all on chain. He's looked at all of them. Whoever's got the highest P&L, and it's not from inside information, and it's not from a one lucky trade. So whoever's got the top P&L in the last 3 to 6 months during that period of time gets added into this smart money database, and then you can see what they're buying and selling on chain. And then what I like to do is look at some of the new launches that are on chain and see if smart money are still holding it after 24 hours. If they're still holding it and it's not been dumped to complete ash, then I take a little gamble. And if that gamble pays off, I take my initial out and leave uh, somewhat of a moon bag in there. So that's something you can do if you've got enough money to sort of splash about and play.
yeah, that's great advice. And, along the same lines, what I wanted to talk to you about was how do you go about identifying new opportunities? I mean, microcaps is one thing. Obviously, the most upside and the most risk is in microcaps, right? And, so what do you think is like a good market cap in terms of a project where you can start like decreasing the amount of risk that's involved? Where do you think that balance is and how do you identify new opportunities when it comes to protocols or projects? I mean, in the heart, it's difficult right now to really, because there's so many projects and protocols to kind of navigate that and understand which ones are going to end up on top. But what's your kind of general thesis on all of those things?
Well, what I do is now this is like this is where I'm a bit stupid, so you might get a better response from someone else. Um, but I would look at coins that have uh, under maybe 100 million in market cap. That's under 100 million in market cap, and I'll have a look over the last 60 days against Bitcoin, like however long Bitcoin's been pumping. I think it's like 40 50 days or something. I don't know. Have a look and compare what they've done in comparison to Bitcoin. Have a look at what the top gainers are. Then go and investigate them further. Look at the people. Look at the product. Look at the community, etc., etc., etc. If you want to get more technical into it, but these winners are sort of choosing themselves. The market's choosing them already. Uh, they're pumping, and if you can get a dip, it's going to wipe the leverage out. That's being used in the system. So if we're still in an uptrending environment, these can just rip and continue to rip. And you know how ridiculous valuations can get when we go full bull tard. So I think don't second guess the market. Have a look at what's what the market's telling you. So if it's saying this coin is the absolute bollocks, then have a look into it, do some investigating. So something like Kuji will probably continue to outperform some, these different coins. I know that's not a small market cap coin, but just as an example. And then you can sort of look, if you've got these big blockchain coins like Kuji, that's created like a wealth in the token holders there. Well, all that wealth is on Kujira, and what they're going to do, they're going to look to spend it probably on Kujira, especially if you look on chain and there's not much being bridged out. So it's probably worth then having a look onto that chain and having a look at comparing the market cap compared to the fully diluted valuation. No, looking at the revenue compared to the fully diluted valuation of the protocols on there and seeing if there's any mismatches. See if there's a protocol that's making a lot of revenue compared to their market cap or fully diluted valuation, and then see if you can find something that's potentially mispriced compared to its competitors on there, because you're hoping that those sort of market inefficiencies get fixed. That's what you're betting on. It's all bets, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've dropped some gems there, and I know you call this stupid, but there is so much elegance and simplicity. And I've just been making my way through a George Soros book, The Alchemy of Finance, right? And he talks about this, about he spends 20 to 30 minutes, right? If it takes him longer than that, he does not need to be a subject matter expert to realize if someone else reads this and sees this idea, if they're going to be attracted towards it or not. And I know there's a lot of people that go into like really deep technical detail,
Yeah.
and really break things down. And I've seen really complicated things. Honestly, like, I'm not a DeFi expert. I
Yeah.
kind of have a good understanding of some things, but I'm not a DeFi super technical person. And so, I mean, you've laid that out perfectly. You've laid out some simple things that you can look at, and there is a lot of elegance and simplicity and really filtering information.
Yeah. And then if you can go like you can go, oh, like, in all honesty, I don't like the new Phantom tech that's sort of coming out. I don't understand it completely, I'll be honest. But new tech catalyst, cool. Andre Cornier, he's a good like bull market pump. He can pump coins, definitely. So these sort of things as well
Right.
lay into it. So you got a coin that's doing all right, and then you got these other factors. You got like a catalyst. You got these other things. So just keep it dumb. If it fits your dumb thesis, then it probably fits the smart thesis too.
Right. There you go. That's beautiful. So in terms of risk management, how do you manage risk? Do you like have like some strategies you deploy, or is it just gut feel? Like, you kind of look at your portfolio and rebalance things, and how do you approach that?
It's a good question, and a lot of it comes down to sort of that high time frame. I'm sort of looking to see how the market reacts to things, and if there's news that comes out, like for example today and a couple of days ago, we've had the Ethereum like bullish news regarding the ETF. Like, I don't even know what an S1 filing is. I've not got Scooby, but it was bullish apparently. So yeah, some more ETF news, and you see Ethereum the spike a little bit, and then can't do it. It's not able to do it. So that's kind of a little bit bearish. So I'm like a little bit more defensive now in comparison to what I was. However, I still think there's only a limited amount of time before this Bitcoin spot ETF goes through, and I think in that time you've got an opportunity for the market to still go up uh, until it gets eventually priced in. Is what I believe, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a
And
great point as well.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Management, in regards to risk management, I'm kind of just staying on my toes and shifting my poker chips on and off depending on news and momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually really smart. And I don't know if you follow the Flow Horse. He's a phenomenal account. He's a trader
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. I've learned a lot from him. I'm also like hoping to get him on one of these episodes as well. But he talks about this a lot as well. Is looking at how the market reacts to news, right? And like you said, if there's good news that's coming out, and nothing's really shifting, or we're going in the other direction, it's kind of problematic. I mean, you don't judge off the initial impulse, right? The whole move plays out over a little bit longer period of time, like give it a couple of days. But
Yeah.
if there's good news coming out, and there's no significant movement, and we're actually going in the other direction, like you said, it's kind of slightly bearish, and that's how. And then also when the trend is really bullish, there could be bad news coming out and the market does not care.
Yeah.
There could be potentially bad news coming out, and the market just doesn't care. So that's how you can kind of judge the momentum in that sense.
That's super bullish if that happens. If you're
Right.
going up and there's bad news, oh my goodness, you want to
So that's
be.
what you want to see. If
Yeah.
you get bad news, and you continue to go up.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
And, and talking about bad news, have you? There's so many stories in terms of losses in this space, right? And some people have run their accounts back down to, ran it up to 7-8 figures, ran it back down to 5-6 figures, and all of that. Have you ever dealt with any significant loss or a series of losses, and how did you go about dealing with it, or how would you suggest someone else deal with loss? Anyone who's listening in.
Yeah. So so let me just talk you through my journey a little bit. When I first started, I was sort of playing around with just different coins on a central exchange. Managed to get lucky on a few different things, and then I saw the NFT craze over on Cardano. Would you believe? So an NFT craze on Cardano when just before they even had smart contracts. So I sent some of my central exchange money over that way, and then whatever hype project would come out in that period of time, I would do my best to mint it. And I managed to run it was basically like a money printer. You could just mint something, sell it instantly, and if you minted something rare, it was like 100x straight away. Managed to run my account up, and then the market started to change. That was that summer, I think summer 21, and the market started to pick up again a little bit. And then you had sort of like a DeFi awakening, and then I sort of got cottoned onto Phantom at that point and went over into DeFi there and started playing around, and there was ridiculous yields because not many people were there. So I ended up locking away like a significant amount of the money I'd made through flipping these NFTs and bits and bobs into a coin, and it ran up all the way to like it was 380 something ridiculous. I don't know. Anyway, long story short, it's worth like $2,000 now. And yeah, as soon as I looked that money away, I had to mentally part with it. So whatever APR I was making, I was just counting that as the profit, and ignored the money that was locked and pretended that was already cut away from me. So yeah, otherwise it would have been a difficult one to try and get over. Having 6 figures turn back into high fives. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think in this space there's like a lot of different things you could struggle with, right? Sometimes you buy something and then when you sell it, it goes up a lot. So there's that, oh, I missed out on this much potential profit, and then you make profits, and then you see other people. That's the other thing, right? People go on Twitter and they see like multiple $1 million P&Ls. Along with the loss, there's that aspect of things as well, because there's so much upside and downside because of the volatility that we deal with. So did you have to struggle with that aspect, or like for me, I never really care about how much someone else is making. For me, it's like, okay, I am on my own journey. What matters is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I
No.
know a lot of people struggle with this when they see other people's P&Ls. It's like, why am I not making that money? Right. And so what would you suggest to those people? And did you ever have to struggle with that, or have you been solely focused on your what you've been doing?
No, I've just been solely focused on me, in all honesty. And yeah, you see like P&Ls thrown about, and you see, like big wins on the timeline. You don't see any losses. You never see any losses. Uh, so, you're always going to feel um, like you're not doing that great. But it's your own journey, and stick with it, because there's plenty of information out there to actually go and this space. You really can turn you if you're really in it, in the trenches, and you're really in there. You really can turn your rags to riches. You can. It's possible, especially in a trending environment with the right volatility. And that's sort of like what we're seeing at the moment. I mean, we're getting to that, and that's nothing yet. That's just a glimpse. um so yeah, no, I've not struggled with it personally. And what I would suggest is not trying to chase people's wins, because then you'll end up um, messing about with leverage and just getting yourself liquidated. And at that point, you haven't got any money to play with, and that's an expensive loss on your side, especially if you're coming up to a point where trend and volatility is in your favor, and then you've just really screwed things up.
100%. And I think that's a great point you mentioned as well, is preserving capital, especially as a beginner, or if someone who doesn't have a lot of capital, or even someone with capital.
Mm-hmm.
You want to preserve capital to be, if you're not limiting the drawdown, you're not going to have any powder to even play with.
Yeah,
And so I think that's a big thing too. Is I see a lot of people basically giving all the money back and not having anything to even work with.
yeah.
And so that's a big point as well that you mentioned.
And dude, I saw like a Pentoshi tweet which sort of summarizes it like so well. It's you either win
Yes,
big, you win small, or you lose big,
yes,
or you lose small. But
absolutely.
as long as you don't lose big, you're always going to be making money. So don't lose big. Whatever you do, come on.
100%. Yeah, if you keep your losses small, your wins, even if your wins are small, as long as you don't lose big, you're still in the game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
big.
Um, and so along the same lines, I mean, we were talking about loss and uh, other struggles. What do you think are your strengths when it comes to your approach to the market? I mean, I can tell you what I think it is, but I'll let you explain.
Um, my strengths is that. It's a good question. I've never not really had to think about it, and I didn't prepare. Honestly, Stoic, I didn't prepare for this interview beforehand, so I'm sort of having to think on the spot for a few questions. But my strengths in regards to the market is probably just trusting myself at times. Um, you know, at times you can feel conflicted with what you're reading on Twitter and what your own thoughts are, and you end up needing to make a decision. Um, and stick by that decision. And then if it starts to be invalidated, then cut your losses early. um yeah. And I think some of my weaknesses, at the very same time, is that I still do get sometimes those conflicting thoughts, like this week, for example. You've got that slightly bearish looking market in regards to the fact that ETH has that bullish news and it's just eating shit. Yeah, it's holding weekly support, but it's eating shit for the news. That's
Yeah.
um, yeah. You've got like a spot Bitcoin ETF. I know that it's a different narrative for a different coin, but Bitcoin is the market leader. It could pull the market up in general. um, and that's only amount of time, and I think you will get a pump from the approval, and then after that, I think it's going to be a set. Like, if I'm just predicting things, I think you'll get a sell off after that approval, and then we'll go into the halvening narrative for the next pump, and then yeah, we'll carry on with the with the 4 year meme cycle. It continues. And then as soon as the boomers keep on twapping our Bitcoin. It's a super cycle.
Yeah, I was actually just about to come to that. What your thoughts are on the environment currently. But I agree with you, man. ETH has been a curse to hold. I'm not gonna lie. ETH
Yeah,
has been a bit of a curse here. I still believe. I mean, right now like you said, it's still holding high time frame support, but
yeah,
it's not been holding up well at all.
yeah, yeah.
And
And that's the mistake. That's the mistake I've made recently. I was
yeah.
in. I was basically like mostly in Bitcoin.
Right. I
90,
saw that actually. Yeah, I saw you're
yeah,
mostly in Bitcoin, and you rotate. You were thinking about rotating over.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you win some and you lose some, right? I mean, the thesis was good. I mean, I actually, held on to that for a while too. I felt like ETH was going to do one of those rippers, that it
Yeah.
does when no one, everyone was really bullish on Sol, and that's what what I should have rotated into.
And
To
I
be honest.
thought, oh, wow, like it's got the same narrative as
Right.
Bitcoin right now. It's come
Right.
on now. But now
Yeah,
might be
it's
the
now
time
ETH's
to
turn.
be
Right.
the rotator and go into Ethereum from
Exactly.
position. I was like, am I gonna be like the master trader here? But no.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of in agreement with what you were saying in terms of the ETF, approval and the actual eventual ETF coming out is it'll probably mark a local top into the halvening. I think we see a bit of a sell off there, and then we, like you said, we have the halving narrative, and then we pump into that, and we'll see what comes with that eventually.
Yeah, cool. A bit of stoic Hoeem confluence. Awesome.
Yes, yes. No, I
Now
agree.
we're
I agree with
now we're gonna dump to zero.
now we go with the yeah. Now it goes in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Um, so we're talking about the environment. Where do you think the space is going to go in the next cycle or two? I mean, there's all this talk about, or do you even think about this stuff like about regulation, CBDCs? Do you really think about that? And where do you think we're headed as a whole with TradFi coming in and all this stuff going on currently?
Yeah. I just hope we stop scamming each other. You know, like I hope that's at the end of this cycle, because if we don't end up having, like, we need a super cycle at some point, because if we don't end up having it, we're probably going to end up trend not to be like a bearish doomer, but you kind of need these things to happen, and you can sort of build a thesis as to how it will happen now. If we got even like 1% of asset managers allocating to Bitcoin or something, as just a thing, you can see how that money is going to just continue to flow in, and we might get that. But if we don't, then we're just going to continue scamming each other on chain until we've PvP'd the shit out of each other. So I was kind of still optimistic, but probably more bearish than I really got caught up in DeFi in the last cycle, and it still can be all these amazing things. It can do all these amazing things for people. Like, there's nothing, you know, in the real world, you've got big people with lots of money that's able to make arbitrage on mortgages, arbitrage on different things. And on chain, we've got a little opportunity to do um, a little bit of arbing and finding market inefficiencies and doing things ourselves and having our own tools to do things. We get all that access without needing a ton of regulation. So that's kind of the benefit to decentralized finance. And I think you're going to see in the next. You're already seeing. I think you're going to see what Larry Fink is coming out and saying to be the narrative for cryptocurrency is like a safe haven. It's going to be made the narrative for Bitcoin. It's going to be a store of value and a store of wealth, similar to gold. And he's already putting the feelers out for that. So, that's gonna be the narrative moving forward.
Yeah, and talking about Larry Fink, I mean, this is a complete tangent and conspiracy conversation, but
Yeah,
in terms of like, there's this theory I've seen, and I mean, haven't really had the time to entertain it too much, or don't really care much to entertain it. But there's something about, oh, like the ETF is going to get rejected, and then BlackRock is going to accumulate more, and then with due time it'll get, they'll pass it through. Have you heard that one?
Well, if it gets rejected, it'd be the best buying opportunity
There
on
you go.
Bitcoin. Yeah. So, you want to be if it gets rejected, sell it immediately and then buy the dirty wick at the bottom.
But
You know,
who,
that,
like 90% of people, they will still not buy. I mean, they will sell at the bottom again
yeah.
if that happens.
If that happens, maybe Capo's right. You get
Yeah, 12K main target, huh?
yeah.
Oh
Maybe he's
man.
right. So,
All right. So yeah, we were
that
talking
would
about
be,
DeFi and some of the environment, and what I'm interested in knowing is like which narratives are interesting to you, what piques your interest currently, and why you think those narratives are interesting going into this next cycle.
um, it's, yeah, it's a good question, really. You've got, I think narratives recently have been coming and going within like 1 week to 2 week periods. So you're getting a real flow of money into different narratives and a flow out immediately. But one thing I'm hopeful for is sort of RWAs, and if you can get that on chain, and it's working, and if it works, then you're gonna have, like, why wouldn't you have your money on chain? You're gonna have the upside of having your interest rates on your dollars, getting your money on that, and then you can use that to get more money from someone's DeFi chain who's decided to incentivize it with a load of their coins. So why not? I know you're taking on a bit more risk, but why not have your money on chain if you're able to get more bang for your buck? You know, if everyone could have like a coin, a dollar that's accruing value over time under their beds, they would have that. It's just making money. So that's kind of what you're going to be able. That's kind of what you're getting on chain in regards to these coins that are taking in the interest rates on the US dollar. So that's cool.
Right. And an extension of that same question is, are there any projects and protocols that you currently have your eye on? When it could be RWAs or anything in general, or even we can talk dexes as well, if there are any dexes or the narrative in that sense when it comes to on-chain perps. What do you think about that narrative?
I think a perp aggregator like MUX, for example, is probably the go-to. You get the best value for the trade you're making if they're able to aggregate it for you. So that's probably the narrative there, is going to an aggregator rather than just a certain perp exchange. And then in regards to narratives right now, I'm more just looking at what the market's like, where the money's flowing into the market, and then seeing where the inefficiencies lie inside those money pools, and then seeing if you're able to make like a bet on that. So the example I used earlier was Kujira. Kujira's pumping, wealthy holders looking inside the ecosystem. Same thing with Sol, looking inside the ecosystem, bridged on chain, getting involved in maybe some of the protocols on there, because these wealthy Sol holders right now and these wealthy Kujira holders, they're going to be spending their money on other things on chain, especially if it's not getting bridged out. So that's something to look for in regards to like narratives for different chains. And I think that's what you're going to continue to see while we're getting these certain L1 pumps at different stages.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I don't know if you know about David Hale. He's a book author. I actually did an episode with him, but he talks about this term called glitch trading, where you actually look for mispricing, arbitrage, anything that's undervalued, and it's a mechanical basically trade, right? So
Mm.
if like you do wallet tracking and you see like there's several wealthy holders, and there's certain wallets that you're interested in, and then it just becomes like sort of a mechanical strategy for you. Okay, well, if they're buying it here, they want it to go higher, buy high, sell higher, kind of thing. But looking for mispricing, arbitrage and those kind of opportunities. And he talks about that a lot. So it's kind of in line with what you're mentioning right now as well.
Yeah, yeah. And there is, when we had that day the other where like those coins were going like 20-30% down, there was some different dexes that weren't able to price that in, and you had a little bit of arbitrage opportunity there on chain. I mean, I didn't take advantage of it. I was working, but they're the sort of things that exist because our market is so inefficient. So you've always got these opportunities. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled on them.
Yeah, 100%. So just shifting gears, and we're kind of coming up on the last bit here. Is is there any story you'd like to share that might be insightful for anyone listening in? It could be a great win, or any experience that you've had while being in the space that's been inspirational, or something that's been valuable for you.
I think my favorite thing of being inside crypto is all the different people I've gotten to speak to from across the world. All these like uh, really sort of clever minds that I'm able to tap into now and then. And I've been in like a group chat with some of my friends, and from all around the world, and I get to speak to them every day. And I've never even met these people.
Right.
It's it's wild, and yet we're I feel like they're friends, and you get to yeah. It's not often in your real life circle you get like a group of you in real life where you're all on this same path towards working towards something. But you can digitally make that for yourself if you network
Yeah.
and put out there and find yourself in like a niche and a circle that's really going for it, really grinding, really putting in the work and putting in the hard yard. Because 10 minds working at it is far better than one mind, let me tell you. And as soon as you can tap into that, you're able to really find some opportunities, not just for yourself, but for your friends. And that's been one of my favorite things is using my mates. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, but
No, that's so
yeah,
you bring up such a great point. And being in this space is also very alienating. I actually just tweeted today as well about it. Is we're in such a niche of financial speculation, and when you're eating, breathing, and living it day after day, especially in the bull market, like we're so alienated from others, right? And so finding a group of people that are working and grinding towards the same thing, it's almost like a brotherhood or sisterhood, or having that group with that shared purpose, like it gives you a lot of drive, you know what I mean? And share and having those people around you, I think it's really helpful.
it really is. It really is cool. Like, um, you know, we sort of give each other stick sometimes if we're not doing certain things. Like one of my friends, Moose, wanted to do a podcast episode, do a series on podcasting where he interviews different, like you're doing here today, like different brains in the space. And he was stalling on it and stalling on it, so we just like bullied the shit out of him until he stopped. And yeah, now it's like one of my favorite things to listen to, and he's hosted a whole host of really intelligent crypto minds on there, and it's been great to listen to. And it all started with just being pushed in the right direction by a group of mates. He had the idea there, but he was stalling on it, and that's where that sort of circle and can really help push you and get you along. And those are the sort of things I love. And even with like Lynn, for example, Lynn, um, when I was starting my newsletter, she had a newsletter before me, so I was really taking inspiration from her and seeing what she was doing and speaking to her, and what can I do? How can I go about this? And she's been nothing but really golden and helpful to me and probably hundreds of people in the space. Really, she's a gem. So you find these people that are just want themselves to do well, but want you to do well as well. It's not, you know, I know I was talking a little bit and saying how PvP we all are and what trying to gun each other down all the time, but actually, like the people I'm hanging out with, um, we all want to grow the pie and have enough pie to share around all of us. Uh, so you know, that's something that's really special.
I agree 100%. And, I was just smiling while listening to this as well, because I've had nothing but great experience when it comes to the support that I've gotten, whether it's from Lynn and, just networking and getting in touch with you and getting in touch with some phenomenal traders. And I think it's also about the energy that you put out is what you get back, right?
Without doubt.
Um, I don't have the time or energy, and I'm not the kind of person to put out, if I see something that I don't like, I just ignore it. I don't have the time to go out of my way and, post negative stuff or do any of that. And I think so having that positive, whatever energy you put out is what you're going to get back. And in this space, like the past 5 or 6 months, I've gotten a lot of support and appreciation. And it's been phenomenal. Like it's been a great journey so far,
Yeah.
at least on Twitter. Yeah.
But you're putting out great stuff, and you're putting out a good energy, and it gets it comes back to you tenfold. What you give is what you get. So for anyone sort of wanting to go and follow like a similar path, you can all do it. You can just go. All I started doing was when I first started learning about DeFi and everything about cryptocurrency in general, is I would write about it and I'd put it up on Twitter. That's all I was doing, and people were asking the same questions I was, so there was an immediate interest, and that's how it all began. And you can do the same thing too, and then you can end up having friends that you can speak to daily. That'll help you with your journey, especially if you've got like an interest in this space. And who knows, you might be like working for like a crypto company one day, or you might be finding like good opportunities in the market just because you're mates with someone. All these things stem from each other, and it's a beautiful thing. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, no, that's great, Hoeem, and I thank you for taking the time out to do this. We've been going back and forth for a while. It's been hard, especially with the environment in the market currently. And if there's anything you want to plug, your newsletter, your
Yeah.
Twitter.
Okay. Yeah. So Twitter is crypt Hoeem. Newsletter is 7c newsletter.com or 7c.substack.com or whatever. And on there I've got two weekly newsletters. One is a premium one which costs £7 a month, less than 2 cups of coffee. Stoic's featured on there a few times with some of his incredible trading insight, but really it's a analytical aggregator. uh, it's all well and good teaching people how to do and find certain analytics on chain and how to let them empower you. But not everyone's got the time. They don't have the time. They're working full-time jobs. They've got families. So if that's something you want delivered into your email inbox every single Saturday, then you can get yourself a free trial there. And then I've got my free newsletter, which gives you the weekly news, the weekly technicals, and the weekly alpha lala right at the end. Which I use my experience of being shafted in the space and
Yeah.
find successes in the space to sort of being able to shift through content and find what's valuable and what's not valuable. And I give that to you on a weekly basis in my free newsletter, which goes out on Sunday.
Phenomenal. And
Thank you, mate.
before one last thing, actually, one last thing. What are your Twitter account recommendations? Are there any small accounts? Because some of these bigger accounts, they're not putting out the best information. There are a lot of bigger accounts that put out great information as well. But what are some small account gems? I mean, and you can mention bigger accounts as well
Okay,
that you would recommend.
give me 2 seconds. Give me two
Sure.
seconds. So we'll obviously go with Stoic. Don't know if you heard of him.
Thank you, man. I'm humbled. Thank you.
We'll go with Golden Degen, this like 14-year-old kid who's absolutely grinding it. We'll go with Twin Dogs, Richie, who every single day is posting out new protocols and giving a little insider bit of information on it. He's on 5,000 followers. We'll go also with my friend Moose, who we was talking about shortly ago, a little while ago even. He's an excellent account to follow as well, and he's doing interviews with some of the brightest minds in crypto. So definitely check him out. And also, if you like a little bit of shit posting, go follow Bart Cheeks. He's quite funny. But yeah. Oh, and Shitso. Yeah. Shitso.
I don't know that last account actually.
Shitso XBT.
All right, I'll have to check that one out.
XT. Yeah. He follows you, dude.
Wait, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I did not know that. I'll definitely look at I'll definitely look him up.
Okay.
And then to wrap up this conversation, you know, I call myself Stoic, so I have to end with a quote from a Stoic. And Epictetus said, "You can bind up my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice." So we can always decide. We can't always decide what happens to us, but we can always decide how we respond. We are responsible for how we act and how we react, and no one can take that freedom of choice away from us. So I hope this conversation was insightful for everyone. Stay tuned for more episodes that bring on the best people in this space, and we will be talking soon. Thank you.